So, a new Royal Enfield Interceptor is just about to be released.
And I got to ride one before they hit the dealerships. Look, there's a couple of nice upgrades, but at 47 brake horsepower, does it still stack up?
So, first of all, thanks a lot for the invite. Would have loved to go, but I was in Tassie, so fair enough. So tell us about the ride. How'd it go?
So Amber and I went down to Melbourne. I was shooting a story with a guy named Todd, and that's coming up on the channel very soon. He lives down near the Great Ocean Road, so that was a good opportunity to get a couple of bikes from Royal Enfield and do a bit of a ride of the Great Ocean Road.
Now this is where I think the Great Ocean Road starts.
We had sun, we had cloud, we had rain, we had hail, and I'm pretty sure we had snow, so pretty much typical Melbourne day.
Yep, every season in one day. All right, so tell us a little bit, what did each of you ride?
So I was on a brand new and as yet unreleased Interceptor that was in pearl black,
Very
but it
nice.
also comes in Kelly green. And Amber was on one of the dark variants of the Continental GT, which was her choice to take because she rides a Continental GT at home.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we'll put a link to the video that we did with Amber and her custom Ventura Blue Continental GT.
Good idea. Also, the dark variants have been out for a little while now. So Amber was on a Slipstream colourway, but it also comes in Apex Grey. There are also two dark versions of the Interceptor, which are Black Ray and Barcelona Blue, which I think looks pretty cool.
I think they look pretty cool too.
Absolutely.
So what are the changes? What's new on these?
So the changes, they're mostly cosmetic. It's got the same Euro 5 650cc parallel twin engine that puts out 47 horsepower at 7,150 RPM. And the brakes are bi-brace, which are the ones that have been on it forever. They're the Brembo budget offerings, and they work just fine.
Yep.
But unlike the dark variants, it's still got old school looking spoked wheels, which I quite like, with tube tyres. Still not fussed on the tube tyres, but the spoked wheels look great.
They do look great.
They do. As for what's new, well, firstly, the new LED headlight from the Super Meteor, which is so much brighter than the older version. And I got to do a bit of a comparison when we were down in Melbourne. Todd's got the older headlight on his, although I think he has upgraded the bulb in his headlight, but both the Interceptor and the Continental GT with the new LED headlight was so much brighter when I was riding in front of them and they were behind me. So that's a nice little safety upgrade. It also has new switchgear from the Super Meteor. I think these look more premium and are so much better aesthetically.
Yep.
I also really like the thicker grips from the Super Meteor. They're so much more comfortable than the ones on the older versions of the Interceptor and the Continental GT. And Amber actually commented that they were a lot more comfortable than the grips on her bike.
So they're wider, but also just softer?
They're softer and also they're a little bit curved and softer sort of rubber,
okay.
Whereas hers are just straight and kind of hard metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a new front master cylinder which looks good. It's better than the older one. And in terms of changes, I think that's about it.
Yeah, nice. So it's sort of taken the best elements of the Super Meteor and applied it to this.
Some of them, yeah.
Nice. So were you surprised that they didn't include the Showa upside down forks from the Super Meteor and the recently announced Himalayan?
Yes and no. And the reason is, if they were going to include, I think they would be a lovely upgrade on this bike, but if they did include them, it had been a whole new redesign of that top yoke.
Yeah, okay.
So I can understand why they haven't done that.
Yeah.
I would assume once we see like a next version of this bike, they'll put the upside down forks on that.
Yeah.
And I would actually think, there's a Scrambler version coming out, and I'd be very surprised if that doesn't have upside down forks. But the latest spy shots I've seen of that bike has conventional forks, so maybe not. Maybe we just have to wait for a new version of the Interceptor in a year or 2 years' time or whenever it's going to be.
Yeah, and I suppose it's that whole thing of like, if it's not broken, which it's not, then there's no need to fix it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Okay, so overall, grin factor, what was it like to ride?
Yeah, I mean, I was grinning from ear to ear. It's still the British-looking modern classic that it was designed to be. It's got good handling. It's got an engine that is easily enough power for everyday riders. We rode the Great Ocean Road. Not as far as we wanted to go because of the weather, but we had a blast. Like, there's plenty of power for city traffic, and when you hit the open road, it's a bike that you just want to kick back and cruise on. It's that kind of bike. Great fun to ride. Really no different from the older version.
Yep.
But I must admit, every time I jump on one of these Interceptors, I'm really surprised at how good they are.
Yeah.
They're just a great bike to ride. Amber actually made the comment that she'd actually probably prefer riding that for long distance over her Continental GT, which is surprising because she loves her Continental GT.
So what was that? Why did she prefer
A
it?
little bit more upright,
Yeah.
you're not as canted forward. That was probably the main reason. Also the seat. I mean, the seat's a little bit firm, but you can slide forward and backward on it. Overall, great fun to ride. And as I said, I'm always really surprised every time I jump on one of these bikes. They're just fun. So you haven't ridden one?
Nope.
So I think when Royal Enfield send us one next time, you need to spend a few weeks on it because I reckon you're going to fall in love.
I'll gladly do that. They look awesome, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's actually not really your style of bike that you normally go for.
It's not, but I have ridden Amber's Continental and I loved, the sound of it as well is incredible, but it's just, there's a cool factor to those bikes.
Actually, that's a very good point because the bikes we had the stock pipes on them. And again, I was really shocked at how good those stock pipes sound. I mean, Amber's, she's got S&S on hers, which sound phenomenal.
Yep.
But even the stock pipes on this bike sound great. With that 270-degree crank, it sounds awesome.
Okay, so what do you think could be improved upon for these bikes?
Oh, look, not a lot.
Yeah.
The main thing would be, and it's my main gripe about the older version as well, is the indicators and taillight. Easy to swap out if you want to, so that would be the only thing that I would do. And then the other thing is, on the dark variants, there's alloy wheels, which are great because they're tubeless tyres. So I think if they can do a spoked version with tubeless tyres, that would be awesome. It'd have to weave a bit of magic there to do that, but yeah, tubeless for a bit of peace of mind is the way to go.
And what about the engine? Would you change anything?
Nothing, absolutely nothing. The engine is just absolutely spot on the way it is. So I'm guessing you've watched this because you're probably a fan of the brand. So check out this Royal Enfield playlist that we put together.